On their way to ski the remote backcountry of Montana are friends Matt Schuyler and Sam Kavanagh. Skiing is 25-year-old Sam's greatest obsession.
It's a pretty young age that I fell in love with skiing. I did it every opportunity I had, sometimes 4 or 5 days a week. When you stand on top of a mountain, it's literally like you can hear the clouds moving by, and you're the only person there. Matt shared that love and passion.
That's insane.
The forecast was for snow, so not only are we going into a place we love to be, but we're gonna have A+ conditions. It was going to be just perfect.
This trip is a rare chance for Sam and Matt to hang out with their 3 greatest friends. Waiting for them at the trailhead is Sam's closest buddy, Blake Morstad.
Haven't you finished yet?
Blake is a special guy. He is amazingly intelligent, and he is a physical powerhouse. He would give you the shirt off his back.
To Matt, Blake is more than a friend. He's also his brother-in-law. The final 2 members of the group are professional mountain guide Jason Thompson and emergency medical technician Chris Mackey.
We were all very excited about the skiing, but I think the overwhelming thing was just being excited to just be hanging out with the guys again.
I don't want to get stuck up there with you.
It's New Year's Eve, and to celebrate, the friends are heading out to ski virgin powder in one of Montana's most isolated areas.
It was extremely remote. We couldn't get emails. We couldn't get cell phone contact. But the whole idea of the trip was to go out and get some great powder skiing and have a blast doing it.
Their destination? The untouched slopes of the legendary Mount Nemesis. The mountain is famous for powder skiing and notorious for deadly avalanches. But the men have come prepared.
A high avalanche danger to us is not a stop. It just means you need to be on your A game. Each and every one of us carried a personal beacon and all the tools necessary to extract somebody from an avalanche.
The friends have skied 8 kilometers cross-country to their base camp. They're now all set to see in the new year.
Happy New Year!
But Blake is celebrating something much more life-changing.
Okay, guys, I have a special announcement. Addie's pregnant. I'm gonna be a dad.
Wow, good luck to that.
It was a pretty momentous moment.
Good work, man.
Hey,
Didn't know you had it in you.
congratulations.
Blake suddenly was gonna have a little man looking up to him and exploring life for the first time. And so we took out the personal video camera. And I remember Blake toasting his wife.
Hey, Addie, I love you. I look forward to seeing Junior pretty soon here, too.
Happy New Year, Eddie!
We all fully expected that next year we'd be celebrating the craziness that was 2005.
In their search for the perfect run, the young friends inch ever higher up the slopes, closer to the heavily loaded snowpack.
Let's do it! Yeah!
See you down there.
Finally, only Matt and his brother-in-law Blake are left up top.
You all right?
Go ahead.
He skied off. And that was the last time that I saw him.
300 meters down the mountain, Sam and Chris have finished the run.
There was just genuine excitement. Chris pulls out the camera and he looks at me, he's like, "So, Sam,
What'd you think?
That was awesome. But, gotta tell you, I'm exhausted.
As Chris powered down the camera, suddenly you could just hear this distant, faint noise. And I heard Jason yelling out, "Avalanche!" When you hear the word avalanche, there is just a sudden cold shiver that runs up your spine.
A terrifying wall of snow, weighing thousands of tons, is heading their way. Upslope, Jason is its first victim.
Brace.
Right next to me was a tree. I grabbed it. I started to feel the snow vibrate. What I experienced, I can only imagine, is like being hit by a car. My world, the world that I knew it to be, had completely evaporated. And I was now being subject to something that was not going to spit me out until it was done with me.
It's a big impact when a wall of snow hits you at 100 miles an hour. It's like being tossed around like a rag doll.
All of a sudden, I was being tossed and turned, not knowing which way was up or down. It was black, it was violent, and I thought, I'm not going to survive.
To his horror, Chris Mackey realizes that the avalanche is sweeping him towards a dangerous precipice.
I knew that there was a fairly large cliff below me. There was also nothing I could do about it.
The avalanche has decimated the mountainside. Matt knows that down below his friends could be dead or dying.
Hello! Hello! Hello!
Moments ago, I was in the clutches of the avalanche. And there I am. I had floated to the top, and I'm only partially buried.
Despite being thrown over the cliff edge, Chris Mackey has also survived.
There's so much snow, and it's so powerful, I didn't even feel it. There was probably 2 seconds of weightlessness and then just a soft landing. There's a lot of adrenaline, realizing, wow, I'm okay.
All of a sudden, I could see the top of the backpack.
Over there!
Now that Blake has been located, it's critical they get to him and clear an airway, fast,
Start from below.
before he dies from lack of oxygen.
We're trying to get to his head to get him breathing.
Using their avalanche shovels, they start to dig. But the snow has become heavily compacted in the slide.
It was very frustrating. It was like digging up concrete. I threw my shovel aside and was just digging with my hands. I remember just thinking, we're losing him. He's right here, but we can't get him out.
I started trying to move around, and I felt this pretty intense pain. And that's when I finally looked down. My foot was facing 180 degrees behind me. And there was about 4 inches of my tibia bone sticking through my ski pants. I grabbed it, I spun it 180 degrees.
We got him out!
Finally, after being buried for almost 10 minutes, Blake Morstad is pulled from his icy tomb.
At first, I thought, he's just passed out. We'll revive him. A couple pumps, and he'll cough up some snow, and we'll get out of here. Jason had me pushing on his chest, and he's saying,
Harder. Go harder.
break a rib if you have to.
50.
In the back of my head, I knew he was dead. But you continue just out of hope. Because this is Blake, you know?
I remember him shaking me out of this trance. He's like, Sam?
You're going back to Sarah. You're going home to your wife.
For him to put me in that position of fighting for something that was so important to me, at that moment, I had a reason to survive.
It's essential to get Sam warmth and shelter fast. But base camp is a kilometer away across rough terrain.
Matt, get us a sled, okay?
Matt ran back and grabbed a toboggan to get Sam back to the hut. Before I could move him, I had to splint his leg.
Splinting Sam's leg will close his wound and should slow the blood loss. But it also means grinding his broken bones back together.
This is gonna hurt, all right?
Sam's a tough kid, but doing that with no pain control
3. Yeah. 1, 2.
is about as painful as it gets.
3.
By nightfall, the men begin their short trip back to camp, but soon realize that Sam faces a grueling journey. The deep snow and level terrain mean that the sled keeps sinking.
We were on our hands and knees, just clawing through the snow. We were working as hard as I've ever worked doing anything.
We were just going 10 steps at a time, and we'd just fall over, do it again. It just took forever to cover any ground.
As the group struggles on, the temperature plummets to well below freezing, and Sam begins to show signs of hypothermia.
Despite it being 0 degrees out, I was sweating bullets. I was shaking uncontrollably. Multiple times, Matt and Jason bundled up around me, just trying to stabilize me.
Sam!
There was times where he just wouldn't really respond, and we would shake him awake.
Sam, you stay with us, buddy, okay? Hey, don't go to sleep, buddy.
It was a critical situation, for sure.
Finally, after 2.5 hours out in the bitter cold, the group gets Sam into the shelter of base camp.
Once we got back, there was a sense of relief.
Easy, easy.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, easy. You're up, Sam.
Yeah, Matt, give me that water.
But EMT Chris Mackey knows that the journey may have done untold damage to Sam's shattered leg.
It's at that point where we needed to look again at his leg, and I knew the boot needed to come off.
Okay, Sam, it's gonna hurt.
I tried to prepare Sam for the pain that he was going to be going through.
I want you to bite down on this for me, and we're gonna get this done, okay? Yeah?
He bed down on a rag, and we slowly, precariously started to remove his boot.
Okay, go. Come on.
You have to imagine my leg is only currently being held on by the very back muscle. And I remember yelling out,
Just rip it off now!
It was pain that it takes your breath away. It leaves you gasping for air.
Okay.
It was like nothing I've ever experienced, nor do I ever want to experience that again.
You ready? Hang in there, yeah?
We skied as fast as we could.
For 4 hours, they ski through dangerous avalanche terrain. Finally, they make it to the base of the mountain, where they left their snowmobiles. From here, they're just an hour's drive from mobile phone contact with the outside world.
And the one thing you need to happen is that snow machine starting.
We couldn't get the stupid thing to start.
It's dead.
It was a nightmare.
The snowmobiles belong to Sam, and Matt and Chris aren't sure how to get them started.
We tried different ways of starting it. We kicked it, we cursed at it, we cajoled it.
Without a snowmobile, they face a cross-country ski that could take as long as a day. High on the mountain, the situation is rapidly worsening. A storm front is closing in, and if it hits, any helicopter rescue will become impossible.
The weather was changing. That started to raise a red flag. I was really worried and concerned for my life. I didn't like the occasional whiff or smell that I would get from the decaying flesh. I knew that the life was slipping from me. But you have to hope that it's not over. My time wasn't done. I wasn't finished. Suddenly you hear this very faint thud, and it kind of drew a little closer, And then Jason came in, he's like, man, there's a helicopter.
They're coming.
And you could hear this helicopter closer and closer as if it's just right over our head. I'm elated. They're coming to rescue us. This is it. Then the helicopter would faint and it would go away.
Please! Come back!
We didn't know what was going on. Could they not see us? Because we could clearly see them. And Jason said,
They're coming straight back. I'm sure of it.
and the helicopter flew over. You could hear the rotors. And then they got a little quieter, and they disappeared. And it just went dead silent.
30 kilometers away, Chris and Matt have made it back to the safety of their truck, where news of the aborted rescue attempt is filtering through.
Search and rescue kept saying, we can't do this, it's not gonna happen. They were in the middle of a snowstorm. There was 60 inches of new snow. They just couldn't land, just couldn't happen. I remember Chris just telling him,
Our friend is gonna die. You have to get there tonight.
I thought it was very likely that we were gonna come out of this with 2 people dead.
The rescue helicopter can't try again till daybreak, and the mood at camp is desperate.
There was anger, but I just had to try to make it to tomorrow.
But by now, Sam's leg is starting to decompose. And with no antibiotics to stop the spread of poisonous toxins, his organs are starting to shut down.
I needed to go to the bathroom. and I was trying to pee into a plastic juice jug.
Jason?
And so I talked Jason into letting me sit upright. And as soon as I swung my leg down, it was literally like somebody had opened a faucet. And the stench of decaying blood and bacteria-infested flesh was just compounding the fact that this was unsurvivable. I was scared and I was fearful. I had reached my limit.
In the backcountry wilderness of Montana, search and rescue air crews are grounded by a fierce snowstorm. 2,000 meters up, Chris Mackey and Matt Schuyler have battled their way back to camp, where 24 hours ago, they left critically injured Sam Kavanagh fighting for his life.
When Matt and I arrived, there was a big relief that Sam was still with us. But he was in a very tenuous situation.
How are you, buddy? Hanging in there?
He had lost an incredible amount of blood. I'm not going to venture how much longer he could have lasted, but we were pushing that limit, I think. I knew that we were racing against time to get him to hospital.
It's a desperate dilemma. Any attempt to drag Sam down the mountain would trigger further blood loss and probably kill him. His only hope of survival is an airlift, but rescue helicopters can't land in the deep snow around the camp.
Matt, come with me, okay?
I remember Chris said, if you want a helicopter to come in here, start stepping on snow and make a helipad. I knew if the helicopter couldn't land, we were taking out a dead body.
It's early afternoon, and the storm rages on. But then a glimmer of hope. A medical team have fought their way through the blizzard. They'll try to stabilize Sam until the helicopter can land.
To have that level of expertise there was a big relief. They had antibiotics and some pain medication, and medically pretty much took over.
I was happy to at least be seen by a doctor for the first time. But when he opened up the bandage, he was shocked by the smell, by the infection, by the decomposition of the tissue.
By now, the decomposing tissue is so poisonous, Sam's condition has reached critical. A decision is made. Despite the risk, the friends will have to drag Sam down the mountain. It's a desperate strategy.
Okay, Sam, we're gonna drag you out, okay?
The whole group collectively began wrapping me in the sleeping bag. At that point, my injury was so bad, the probability of me dying halfway out was pretty high.
1, 2, 3.
I think there was a real concern that I may not be able to survive.
I don't know, but and it was just like, this is a nightmare. We just couldn't lie there and watch him die.
Okay, ready? Let's go.
Wait. Suddenly, we got word that the helicopter pilots were going to give it one more try.
Chopper's coming back.
We immediately started going to this makeshift landing zone that Chris and Matt had stomped out with their skis. Suddenly you hear the helicopter flying in, and it's getting louder, and it's getting louder, and it's getting louder. Now you can feel the wind and the rotor wash and crystals of snow hitting your face. For the first time in 48 hours, I didn't feel pain. I was taken away from that, and I was rescued.
Chris Mackey went on to study medicine, graduating from medical school in 2010. Today he works as a hospital doctor in North Dakota. Matt Schuyler still lives and works in Montana, where he has 3 young children. Jason Thompson continues mountain guiding around the world. Sam Kavanagh was flown to hospital, where following an emergency operation on his shattered leg, doctors forecast a further 3 years of reconstructive surgery. 2 weeks later, Sam opted to have the limb amputated. Today, he works in Montana as a civil engineer and cycles for the US Paralympic team.
I've become an exceptional biker. I walk in the mountains. I run around with my daughter and my wife. The whole experience has taught me to live life and to love life. But it's emotional to think of losing Blake. Not just because he was a great guy, it was because he left a part of him in my heart. It's great to know that I've had people in my life have that impact on me, because I know ultimately that makes me a better person.
It's a clear spring morning, and David Hunt is preparing for his annual cross-country snowmobile trip with his 11-year-old daughter, Leia.
Cool, eh?
It was just something that we promised that we would do every year, something together.
Oh, you look at that.
We always had fun together, you know, no matter what, there was never a dull moment.
Mum Barbara and little brother William will be staying at home. This trip is for fathers and daughters only.
Leia and her father had a special bond, I think from the moment she was born. They spent a lot of time together when Leia was younger, whether it was cycling, skidooing, all kinds of things. Her brother, I think, was very jealous about the fact that he wasn't going to go. But I think that Leia really needed to have that one-on-one time with her father.
Keep you nice and warm, don't you?
I love my daughter. She just had an interest to being around her dad, and she'd always want to come and hug me, and Daddy was like everything.
Bye now.
With David working hard through the year, Leia knows it's her one chance to get Dad all to herself.
My father is a workaholic, so when we went on these trips, I knew for sure all his attention would be directed to me, so I was very excited for those trips together.
It's Leia's big day. But with the temperature plunging to minus 22 degrees, David is wondering whether to postpone the trip.
Okay. That morning, I was a little concerned for the weather because it was very cold outside.
It was one of those mornings where you can barely stand being outside for 1 second, let alone going on a trip.
So I told Leia, what do you want to do?
I was just so excited to go that I had decided to go anyway.
Okay.
I really like snowmobiling, just the fact of having nothing on your mind. You're totally away from everybody, you're away from work. You can just enjoy the scenery and everything around you.
It's so cold outside, but yet you don't feel cold at all because you're having such a blast.
David isn't worried about the drop in temperature.
I had no concerns on us being very, very cold. The only thing that could go wrong is that if we broke down, but then I figured we'd be able to walk. I had bought brand new suits for me and Leia, so I figured you got the best of equipment, the best for warmth, you got it all, you know, so you might get cold a bit. You're not gonna freeze, you know what I mean? And to get cold a bit, well, that's we don't mind, you know what I mean? It's wintertime, we live in Quebec, you know, you're supposed to get rosy cheeks, you're supposed to get a bit cold.
Leia is already dreaming about her favorite part of their trips, diving into a heated hotel swimming pool.
That was my passion. I loved being in pools. And so the idea of having a heated pool was always very exciting for me.
Leia and David arrive at Saint-Jérôme before nightfall.
Hi there. You have vacancies?
Yes, we do.
Excellent.
And do you have a pool?
Unfortunately, we don't have a pool.
When we entered the hotel, we noticed that they didn't have a pool. And I looked forward to going into their heated pool so much that I convinced my father to go on for another hour until we reached the next hotel where they had a pool.
Like any doting father,
Thank you.
David can't say no to his daughter.
So I looked at the map and I said, well, we're about an hour and a half away. So I figured, okay, Leia, no problem at all, then let's continue. We got about another hour and a half to go.
David knows that snowmobiling at night brings a new set of dangers. With the light fading and the trail fast vanishing, David considers his options.
I looked at the map. I saw that if we had to turn around where we were to go to another trail, this would take us 2 hours out of our way and that we would never be able to make it to that motel before 8, 9 o'clock at night.
David faces a major dilemma. Lose time turning back for better trails, or carry on through heavy, ungroomed snow.
So I figured, well, if the trail's no good, we'll just go slow. At least it's going to save us time.
David presses on, hoping the trail will improve. But up ahead, a hidden trap awaits them. Metal guardrails, buried by the drifts, lurk just beneath the snow.
All of a sudden, my ski was stuck.
The metal skis have caught on the rails.
I was just trying to turn the skidoo, and it wouldn't turn.
It's steering them towards the edge of a ravine.
My first reaction was to turn around and take Leia and throw her off. And then I realized... Oh my God. That's when I realized that this is gonna really hurt.
When I looked down at him and I saw him in the bottom of the ravine, I guess in that moment I just kind of froze over.
David's snowmobile has crashed into a freezing cold stream, crushing his leg and pinning it beneath the water.
I was very panicky, I was very scared.
Dad! Just get out, please! What's wrong?
Using brute force and every last drop of adrenaline, David has to drag his legs free from underneath the machine. But when he tries to stand,
when he got up, I figured everything was fine, like we were going to walk out of it, until he fell.
I realized that there was something very severely wrong with my knee.
when David crash-landed in the bottom of the ravine, it wasn't just the ice that shattered. Pinned underneath 270 kilos of falling metal, David's knee took the full force of the impact and is now smashed into 15 fragments of broken bone. The slightest movement causes these jagged shards to grind against the surrounding tissue.
It felt like somebody had taken a hammer and smashing your knee right against concrete.
Leah!
Throbbing pain I've never experienced before in all my life.
Dad! Dad, please, just get up!
David needs to get out of the ravine and back to a hospital fast. But with a shattered knee, he can't move.
I couldn't just get up, man, and get out of there.
Dad! What's wrong?
David is now relying on his 11-year-old daughter to get him out.
Dad, I'm coming down.
But with the wind and snow suddenly picking up, it won't be easy.
My father has always been there for me.
Take care.
Now it's my turn to show that I can help him.
Leia's made it, but there's no time to rest. Their best chance of rescue is being spotted by another snowmobile. Unless they can get back up to the trail, nobody will see them.
We were so far down that if a snowmobile drove by, they wouldn't see us, so we had to get up there.
Okay, slow. No, slow.
I tried to pull him, but he's a man. I'm an 11-year-old child, so it was kind of impossible to do.
Okay, again, one more time.
I'm like paralyzed now in a way, you know what I mean? The minute you make any movement, it's a throbbing pain.
Realizing her arms aren't strong enough to pull her father up, Leia braces her body and uses her legs instead.
So I'd grab her leg and I would pull myself up about a foot at a time. Then Leia would back up, brace her hands very well in the snow on each side again, and I'd grab onto that leg that she would put down, and I would pull myself up another foot.
I tried to pull him, and every time he would slip and fall back down.
Every jolt sent shockwaves of pain through David's smashed knee.
I wanted to quit a lot of times, you know? I figured I ain't gonna make it to the top. You know, I can't get up there.
Come on, Dad.
Okay.
But Leia didn't want to give up.
I was so determined at that moment. It was like another me that kicked in.
Girl, come on. You're great, Leah. Oh.
Leia, all 45 kilos of her, manages to help pull her badly wounded father back up to the top of the trail.
Getting out of the ravines was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. It was with the determination of Leia and the will of Leia that I got out of there.
Oh, good girl. Good girl.
David and Leia are all alone. The temperature is dropping. They're 11 kilometers from the next town. And with nighttime fast approaching, it's unlikely any other snowmobiles will pass by.
Well done.
Still wet from his fall in the river, David is freezing. But right now, he's more concerned about his daughter.
Where's your glove?
That's when I could see Leia. Leia had lost one of her gloves.
Put that on. That on.
I had one left, the other one I threw off when I was in the water, and I gave that glove to Leia and I told her to put that on her hand.
In these conditions, any exposed skin is vulnerable. And by giving Leia his glove, David is risking losing his hand to frostbite. Despite the condition of the trail and the worsening weather, David tries to convince himself that someone will come and save them. With 8 hours till dawn, and the temperature still dropping, David makes a decision.
You're gonna have to go and get help, okay?
When my father told me to leave to go find help, I was incredibly shocked. I didn't know what to do at that moment.
Linda, you're right here. Okay?
She didn't want to leave me there, you know? She wanted to stay with me.
Girl.
I said, you have to, Leia. I said, you can't stay here with me. You stay here with me, you could pass away. I could pass away. We'd freeze here tonight.
Off you go.
I was scared that he would be left by himself. But I knew that I wanted to rescue my father.
Leia sets out alone, determined to find help and save her father.
So she got up and she started walking. I literally felt helpless. And then that was the last that I saw of Leia. Leia left.
As soon as I left him, the fear kicked in. I realized that I was all by myself now. I was outside in the dark, in the woods by myself. I was very, very nervous, very scary.
Limping, after her earlier fall through the ice, Leia heads deeper into the forest.
My father told me to not get off of the path.
After burning their map to light a fire, she has no way of knowing if she's going in the right direction.
I noticed a sign that said, "Beware of animals." I was very, very scared when I saw that sign. As soon as you go into an area where it's all bushed, you can't see anything. All I could hear was these wolves howling, branches breaking, and, you know, things moving. All these things really, really were frightening me. All I kept telling myself is, I'm almost there. There's light. There has to be someone.
But when she finally reaches the far side of the lake, there's a shock in store.
As I got closer, I noticed that the only way that I would be able to get to that light was if I climbed a steep, straight hill that was impossible to reach. At that moment, I started to yell and yell and yell and just scream out,
Help! Please, can you hear me? Please help!
If anyone is there, they cannot hear her, and she cannot climb up the steep bank to get closer.
Help! Please help me!
I was very, very depressed at that moment.
11-year-old Leia has walked through the dark forest and across a frozen lake that could have taken her life, all to save her father. But it's been in vain. At the crash site, David's core body temperature is plummeting, and he's just hours from death.
Finally, I heard a voice, so I started to yell back.
Leia! Leia!
It was my father's voice.
Leia heads in the direction his shouts are coming from. It's been 3 hours since David last saw his daughter, and hearing her voice breathes new life into him.
When I heard Leia calling out my name, it was like a sigh of relief that I knew that she was still alive.
Daddy!
I'm here! Over here! It's okay. It's okay.
Despite all her efforts, Leia and David are back to square one.
I was happy to hear her, and I was happy to see her again. But on the other hand, I was very unhappy that she didn't make it and that she wasn't already a nice warm place and everything else, that she would have to stay here now with me in the freezing cold weather.
It's okay. We're gonna be okay.
Leia can see that her father's condition has worsened.
He didn't look well, he really didn't. He was trying to hide it. It was very much worrying me a lot.
Body sweat, caused by the pain of his knee injury, is freezing against David's skin. And with the wind chill dropping the temperature to minus 27 Celsius, his heart rate is slowly falling. Back at home, David's wife Barbara is worried. She's been expecting a call from them since lunchtime.
Come 9 o'clock that night and they still hadn't called, I had this really bad feeling in my stomach that something was not right. So I telephoned the police, and the police said there wasn't anything they could do until they'd been missing for 24 hours.
Okay, thank you.
I was just totally devastated.
At the crash site, David has given up any hope of rescue.
I didn't think there was another skidoo coming. But it was too cold of a night, for one. Very, very blowy. The trails were so bad. Who's gonna want to go out in that? You wanted that wind to stop. It was just getting worse and worse. Darker and darker. Colder and colder. And I could see up in the trees, and it was blowing all the snow off of the trees and blowing it all onto us and blowing it everywhere. And it was just the noise. It was a noise that I wanted to stop.
Although badly injured himself, David is more worried about his daughter.
She was cold, and I was cuddling her up. She was shivering and shivering and wouldn't stop. I was trying to get her as warm as I could.
But one part of Leia's body, which was freezing cold, is now beginning to feel warm. Her feet.
My feet weren't cold whatsoever at that moment. They were kind of actually numbed.
It's gonna be okay.
Her feet are also swelling. Combined with the lack of sensation, it's a sure indicator that Leia is developing acute frostbite. The cold has frozen the fluid in her skin cells, creating ice crystals. These cells have ruptured, causing her feet to swell. Now, the blood supply is not reaching the damaged skin, and the nerves in her toes are slowly dying.
I was very, very relieved that the sun was coming up.
Against all the odds, David and Leia have survived one of the coldest nights of the year in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth.
We did it and we survived, and I just thank God for watching over us, you know.
But when Leia goes to get up, there's a shock for both of them.
My feet.
Holy jeez. She had ice all around her boots.
Can you feel your feet?
No.
Balls of ice have formed around her feet, which now prevent her going anywhere.
Move your feet. You can't feel them?
No.
Okay.
David grabs a metal signpost out of the snow to chop away the ice.
I was holding the wood part of it, and I was chopping with the aluminum part of the sign.
As David breaks up the ice, curiously, Leia feels nothing.
My feet were so numb, I didn't feel anything whatsoever. All I could feel was him hacking at it.
The fact that Leia cannot feel her feet is a very bad sign. Despite the damage, she can stand. Now David wants her to leave him and save herself before they freeze to death.
Gotta go back to the trail from last night, okay? It's the only way. It's gonna be okay.
Either she leaves now on foot to go to get help, or we die here.
I love you, Daddy.
I said to Leia, when you're walking, just believe in your heart, Dad is with you. So you walk and you leave and you get to the town, I'll be good.
Dragging her numbed feet through the snow, Leia heads out once more to find help.
I was in pain at that point. I was not comfortable at all.
Back at the crash site, David knows that even if Leia finds help, it might not arrive in time to save him. He has to try and walk, or die here in the forest.
After Leia left, I figured that I'm gonna go that way too. I'll try and follow her.
Come on!
Although his knee is shattered, David summons the courage to stand up.
I grabbed that post and I made it up. I just fell down and was unconscious.
An hour into her walk, Leia spots a derelict building in the snow up ahead.
As I went up the hill, I noticed a little lodge. So I walked up to it and I noticed that it was a little cabin or something, maybe for fishing or hunting. I was so disappointed because I wish I would have seen it the night before and I would have been able to drag my father towards it or something so that we could have gone in it, you know? So I was very disappointed at that moment.
As Leia pushes on, she starts to worry that she'll never find help.
I felt like I was not getting anywhere. When you're in the woods like that, often it all looks a bit the same.
Leia doesn't know it, but now every second counts in the race to find help. Her next decision, to go left or right, could seal her father's fate.
As I was walking, I reached the point where I had turned off the night before to go into the lake. I remember my father told me it's very important to always stick to your right, he told me. No matter which way the trail gives you an option, always go right.
Leia goes right, hoping that the path will take her towards the town and the chance to save her father. David's body is shutting down. Hours later, a family on a snowmobile trip spot David's body in the snow. David has clung to life.
My daughter!
Now his only thoughts are for Leia.
My daughter!
He said that Leia had been found and that she was going to be taken to Saint Jerome Hospital.
It was a sigh of relief that we succeeded. We made it. You know, we're not going to die here. It's not our time.
Honey.
Incredibly, Leia and David are rescued just a few hours apart. Leia walking into a nearby town on her badly damaged feet.
I was so happy. I was crying. I was so happy. It was like I started breathing again.
Leia and David survived their ordeal, but sustained lifelong injuries. David underwent reconstructive surgery on his shattered knee. But Leia's injuries were more severe. Partial amputations of both her feet were necessary after suffering acute frostbite.
I really do feel lucky to be alive. The doctors thought that I would have been amputated close to my knees, and I managed to be able to keep both of my heels, so I'm incredibly lucky for that. And I thank God every day for it.
For her incredible actions in saving her father's life, Leia was given the Star of Courage, one of Canada's highest awards for bravery.
Just 11 years old and being told to go for help and not hesitating for one moment. She's the bravest person I know.
I would have never got out of there without Leia. Never, ever. It was Leia that saved my life. She's my hero, you know? She's everything to me, that girl.